What if the galaxy's first contact with Earth didn't spark war because of our weapons, but because of our dogs? When aliens mistake loyal companions for terrifying beasts of war, an innocent tail wag nearly starts an interstellar crisis. This isn't just a story about first contact, it's about how love, loyalty, and a single paw print can shake the stars. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and show a thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's jump into the story. The stars sparkled like diamonds scattered across a dark ocean as the alien vessel Peacecaster approached the blue and green world below. Captain Norix, whose smooth emerald skin shimmered under the glow of the control lights, stood at the front of the bridge, his 6 slender fingers resting calmly on the navigation rail. His heart hummed with excitement. After decades of peaceful exploration, they had reached a planet bursting with promise Earth. The data from Earth's broadcasts had been clear. Humans lived with smaller animals in peaceful companionship. To Norix, this was a sign of emotional intelligence and social harmony. "Prepare for descent," he said softly, his voice melodic like a flute carried on the wind. "This is going to be a friendly one." Beside him floated Leotor, a transparent creature whose jellyfish-like form pulsed with quiet caution. She had spent the last 3 months analyzing Earth's languages and behavioral signals. "There are still unknowns," she warned. "We see them petting and feeding these creatures, but we don't fully understand the dynamic. Are they caretakers? Or do they use these animals for protection?" Captain Norix smiled gently. "They call them pets. That suggests affection, not war." Drenel, a sentient gas entity coiled in gentle spirals near the communication deck, released a puff of pale blue mist. "Their linguistic tones support strong emotional bonding," he agreed. "They refer to their companions as good boys and best friends. No hostile signs detected." Far below, on Earth's surface, Commander Tom Shepard stood in the observatory tower of Earth Space Communication Center in Montana. He rubbed his tired eyes as the incoming transmission played out in strange harmonic patterns. The translation AI was already working overtime, trying to make sense of the musical alien language. Tom's dog, Dusty, a seasoned border collie, with intelligent eyes and a tail that wagged like it had its own personality, sat beside his feet. Dusty had been his partner through search and rescue missions and emotional recovery programs for soldiers. The dog didn't bark or move as the transmission played. He simply leaned closer to Tom, sensing something big was happening. "Sir," a young technician called out from her station, "the ship is slowing down. They're aiming for open farmland." "No signs of aggression," Tom nodded. "Let's keep it simple. 2 humans, 2 dogs, no weapons, just a smile and an open hand." He looked down at Dusty. "We're going to make a good first impression, pal." Dusty wagged his tail in agreement, as if he understood every word. The alien ship Peacecaster broke through the atmosphere, like a silver drop of water slicing through the sky. It landed with a soft thud in the middle of a golden wheat field, steam hissing gently from its smooth metallic surface. Birds scattered into the air, and the sun dipped lower behind the hills, casting a soft orange glow across the valley. Inside the ship, Norix took one final look at the landing protocols. "Let's offer the gift crystals and basic language imprints. Keep your posture low, eyes gentle, and tones soft." Leotor floated nervously beside him. "Are you certain?" "We shouldn't wear bioshields?" Norix chuckled. "We're meeting friends, not fire breathers." The ship's door opened with a whisper, and the ramp lowered to the soft grass below. Captain Norix stepped out first, his green form lit by the fading sun. Behind him drifted Leotor and Drenel. The air was thicker than they were used to, full of the scent of wildflowers and warm earth. A vehicle approached slowly from the dirt road nearby. Commander Tom sat at the wheel with Dusty in the back seat, while another peace officer, Raina Mays, rode shotgun with her golden retriever. Bungo, a therapy dog trained to assist veterans. They stopped the car 100 yards from the ship. Dusty jumped down first, his nose twitching with excitement. Bongo followed, his big, fluffy tail wagging like a flag of friendship. The four beings, 2 humans and 2 dogs, walked steadily. Across the field, hands empty, faces calm. Dusty stayed close to Tom's left side, alert and curious. Bongo walked with a relaxed bounce in his step, sniffing the air eagerly. But to Norix and his crew, what they saw was something entirely different. The animals weren't small or passive. They were large, strong, and moved with a grace that suggested hunting ability. Their teeth, visible as they panted happily, seemed too sharp for comfort. Leotor floated backward instinctively, her body pulsating in alarm. "They brought predators," she whispered. "And they aren't restrained." Drenel's chemical signatures shifted rapidly. Those scent markers, they matched the ones from predator species that destroyed entire ecosystems on the outer moons. Then Dusty broke from formation, his curiosity getting the better of him. He bounded forward, tail wagging and tongue lolling out, ready to say hello to his new alien friends. To him, it was a joyful moment of meeting someone new. To Norix, it was a full-speed charge from a muscular predator with exposed teeth. "Retreat!" Norix shouted, voice trembling like shattered glass. "Back to the ship!" The 3 aliens scrambled up the ramp, and the door slammed shut just as Dusty skidded to a halt, tilting his head in confusion. He had never seen anyone run away from a belly rub before. Tom called Dusty back and watched as the ship lifted off and vanished into the sky. Raina looked stunned. "Did we just scare off the first intelligent life we've ever met?" "With our dogs?" Tom nodded slowly. "I think they thought Dusty was our guard beast, not our best friend." Far above Earth, aboard the retreating Peacecaster, Captain Norix sent an emergency alert back to the Federation. "Do not approach Earth. The humans are not what they seem. They have tamed predators. Real living predators. And they walk among them like pets." In the silence that followed, only the stars blinked, unaware they had just witnessed the galaxy's most innocent misunderstanding. Asterisk. The news of the failed first contact spread across Earth faster than light. People were confused and social. Media exploded with memes, theories, and debates. Some thought the aliens were allergic to dogs. Others joked that Dusty's tail wag was too powerful. But at the Pentagon, the mood was serious. Commander Tom Shepard sat in a meeting room surrounded by military officials, scientists, and government leaders. The question on everyone's mind was the same. Why did the aliens run? Dr. Elric Dawn, a marine biologist and animal behavior expert, stood at the front of the room. He clicked a remote, and a paused video of Dusty happily charging toward the alien visitors appeared on the screen. "They weren't afraid of us," he said slowly. "They were afraid of our dogs." The room fell silent. General Hayworth raised an eyebrow. "Our dogs? The friendliest creatures on Earth?" Dr. Dawn nodded. "To us, yes, but think like an alien. You arrive on a new planet and see large, muscular creatures with teeth, moving fast toward you. You don't know what a good boy is. You just see predators." Kara Simmons, a linguist and empathy specialist, leaned forward. "They didn't run from hostility. They ran from what looked like danger to them. What we see as affection-like. Letting a dog sit by your side might look like control or domination to someone who's never experienced it." President Langston, sitting at the head of the table, frowned. "So we frightened them by being kind?" Dr. Dawn nodded again. "Exactly. Meanwhile, on the edge of the solar system, 12 ships from the Galactic Federation moved into position. Aboard the flagship Stellar Ward, the alien High Council was in session. Lights flickered across the circular chamber, casting shadows across the different species gathered. Tall, thin creatures with antennae, small fuzzy ones with twitching ears, and floating beings surrounded a central viewing platform. They replayed the footage of Dusty and Bongo's approach, analyzing every movement. The lead scientist, Dr. Vora, pointed to Dusty's open mouth. "Note the exposed teeth. This is a threat gesture in most predator species." Counselor Reek, a thick-scaled alien with a deep voice, rumbled. "And yet, the humans seem calm. Why?" Tally, a young alien diplomat in training with soft green fur and oversized eyes, raised a trembling hand. "Maybe we're misunderstanding their actions. What if these creatures aren't weapons but companions? They don't look restrained. They act freely." The council murmured, some curious, others doubtful. Dr. Vora shook his head. "Companionship with predators is not possible. History has shown again and again such creatures cannot be trusted." But Tally wasn't convinced. That night, in her quarters, she pulled up hours of human broadcasts. She watched families cuddling with dogs, children sleeping beside golden retrievers, and elderly people being comforted by wagging tails. She didn't see fear or control. She saw something else: affection. Curiosity tugged at her, and she sent a private message to Dr. Vora. "We need a second contact attempt. But this time, we observe from a distance and let them show us what these animals truly are." Back on Earth, the military prepared a response. Dr. Elric Dawn had an idea. "Let's create a broadcast, a clear one. We film different humans interacting with dogs, not in battle, not in training, just being friends," Kara agreed. "We show them families, therapy sessions, rescue work. Let's let them see our truth." President Langston approved it with a nod. "If we're going to be misunderstood, let's at least be misunderstood doing what's right." The first recording took place in a quiet park. Roscoe, a golden retriever with a crooked ear, sat beside his owner, a little boy named Jamal. Roscoe had been rescued from a shelter and trained to help with emotional anxiety. In the video, Jamal gently hugged Roscoe as the dog leaned in, tail thumping softly. Next came a video of an elderly woman named Mrs. Beller feeding her beagle, Toby, at her kitchen table. They had shared breakfast every morning for 10 years. The final clip was filmed at a therapy center, where veterans with PTSD worked with service dogs. One veteran, arms covered in old scars, smiled softly as his Labrador Penny rested her head on his lap. No commands, no force, just peace. The video ended with a simple message: "They are not our weapons. They are our friends." The recordings were transmitted into deep space using powerful satellites. The humans waited and watched and hoped, but aboard the stellar ward, the message was received with horror. Dr. Vora paused the video, shaking his head in disbelief. "They've trained these predators to obey without resistance. Look, taking food from hands, lying motionless, showing their throats. These are not pets, they are controlled beasts." Some council members nodded in agreement, fearful and convinced. "This proves it," said Counselor Reek. "The humans have mastered domination. This is psychological warfare." Tally tried to speak, but her voice was drowned by alarm calls and frantic debate. Orders were issued. "Place Earth under surveillance," the commander said. "If necessary, prepare for defensive action. We cannot allow such dangerous control to spread." Back on Earth, Kara and Elric stood under the stars, watching the sky. "Do you think they'll understand?" Kara asked. Elric sighed. "Maybe. Or maybe they'll just see teeth and forget the wagging tail." High above, in ships orbiting the moon, an entire galaxy watched Earth with trembling hearts. Not because they saw enemies, but because they saw something they couldn't explain. Friendship that looked too powerful to be anything but terrifying. The stars above Earth glittered with quiet warning. The Galactic Federation's ships remained hidden in orbit, cloaked and silent, watching every movement on the surface below. The humans, unaware of just how close they stood to interstellar conflict, continued their efforts to explain. In a large hangar converted into a media room, Officer Cal Rodriguez checked the camera angles for the broadcast. He wore a dark green uniform and kept one hand near the harness of his dog, Blinker. Blinker was a Labrador, strong and calm, with a unique trait: he was blind. After an injury in a rescue operation, the dog had lost his sight but not his spirit. He had retrained himself to navigate the world by scent alone. Cal gently scratched behind Blinker's ear. "You ready to show them what real teamwork looks like?" The dog responded with a happy tail thump and a soft bark. In orbit, on the Federation ship Silent Harmony, two alien scientists watched the human broadcasts with growing interest. Mika, the younger of the two, was from a small prey-evolved species with large ears and bright eyes. She had studied human footage for days and couldn't stop thinking about the dogs. The signals she received from the animals didn't match fear or submission. There was something else. Something gentler. Dr. Thalen, an older and more skeptical researcher, didn't share her hope. "They still pose a risk," he said as he reviewed the footage. "Controlled or not, these creatures could be weaponized." Mika frowned but said nothing. She had a plan to find the truth for herself. The next video began to play. Officer Cal guided Blinker through a series of commands in a wide, open warehouse filled with hidden objects. "Find the phone, buddy," he said. Blinker sniffed the air, slowly walking forward, head tilted, tail steady. The dog passed over several objects before stopping at a crate. He pawed it gently, then sat. Cal opened the crate and smiled. "Got it," he said into the camera. "He can't see. He doesn't need to. We trust each other. I guide him when he needs me. He helps me when I can't do something alone." Blinker walked back toward Cal and leaned against his leg. The camera zoomed in on the dog's face, showing no tension, no fear, just a relaxed animal beside his partner. In the Federation observation room, Mika noticed something strange. "Look at the chemical readings," she said, pointing at the data scrolling across the screen. "The dog's stress markers are low. So are the humans. Their bodies are releasing bonding hormones." Dr. Thalen looked again, narrowing his eyes. "That's impossible. Those patterns only show up between parent and child, or close mates." Mika turned, excitement in her voice. "That's exactly my point. They're not controlling the dogs with fear. They're forming relationships. Bonds, just like families. Down on Earth, more footage played. Children read books to therapy dogs in libraries. A man who had lost his ability to speak after a stroke communicated by touching his dog's paw. A woman with anxiety rode a crowded subway calmly, her small service dog pressed close beside her. Each moment told the same story in a different way. Humans and dogs weren't master and servant. They were partners. Back on the ship, Dr. Thalen's skepticism began to crack. He had expected to see drills, training, obedience, but instead, he saw gentleness. He saw trust. "If this is real," he said slowly, "then humans have done something none of us believed possible. They've formed peaceful bonds with predators." Mika nodded. "And not just one species. Dogs are only the beginning. Their data shows similar relationships with cats, horses, even animals we'd consider too dangerous to keep near children." The Federation's leadership remained divided. Some believed it was a trick. Others feared that even if the relationships were real, the humans were still too dangerous. Counselor Reek argued for immediate military action. "They walk among monsters and call them pets," he warned. "What happens when they bring these creatures to other worlds?" But a growing number of voices urged patience. They needed proof, solid, undeniable proof, that the dogs weren't tools of war. To answer this, the humans proposed a neutral observation. A meeting between one alien and one dog, behind a secure barrier. The Federation agreed. It would take place aboard Earth's orbital research station, under careful supervision. Officer Cal volunteered, along with Blinker. "He's faced worse than aliens," Cal joked. "I think he can handle a peaceful chat." The room was quiet as the moment arrived. On one side of the transparent barrier sat Mika, her small frame barely filling the alien chair. She wore a monitor on her chest to record her heart rate, breathing, and other physical signs. On the other side, Cal sat cross-legged on the floor, Blinker resting beside him. The Labrador wagged his tail slowly, sensing something unfamiliar nearby. Mika studied the dog's posture. Blinker was relaxed, his body low, ears soft. There was no tension, no alertness. When Cal whispered something, Blinker tilted his head toward Mika. The alien's heart raced, but not from fear. She was watching something rare, an apex predator acting with perfect calm and gentleness. Then Blinker moved closer to the barrier and sat, facing Mika. Slowly he lay down, head on his paws, nose pointed toward her. Mika placed her small hand on the transparent wall. Blinker sniffed, then pressed his nose gently against the same spot. The moment was quiet, still, and powerful. Dr. Thalen watched from the control room, stunned. "He's showing trust," he said softly, "and concern. That dog knows she's nervous and he's trying to comfort her." For the first time in Federation history, an alien and a predator shared peace across a barrier neither had crossed. Before, it was not dominance, it was not obedience. It was understanding. And in that moment, a silent truth settled into the hearts of all who watched. The strongest bonds don't bark orders. They simply sit beside you, without fear. The atmosphere aboard Earth Space Station was quiet but tense. Everyone was waiting for a meeting that could change the future of two worlds. President Langston stood near the large observation window, looking out into space where the alien fleet still hovered, unmoving and uncertain. They hadn't attacked, but they hadn't left either. Everything depended on this next step, a final attempt to prove that the bond between humans and dogs was not based on control, but something deeper. On the human side of the station, Leah Winters checked the small pack slung over her shoulder. Inside was a toy bone, a well-worn blanket, and some treats. But more important than any item in the bag was the dog walking quietly beside her. His name was Finn. He was a mixed breed with a soft brown coat and 3 legs. Years ago, Finn had been found injured on the side of a road after being used in illegal dog fights. He had survived, been adopted, and trained as a therapy dog. Now he worked with children who had been through trauma, kids who didn't speak, kids who flinched at every sound. With them, Finn was calm and kind. He didn't need to be perfect. He just needed to be there. Leah patted his head. "Ready, boy?" Finn gave a quiet wag of his tail and walked beside her into the meeting room, across the station. On the alien side, a tall figure stood nervously in the waiting chamber. His name was Treek, a Federation official who had lost half his family in a predator attack on his home planet. The idea of standing near a creature that Earth called a dog filled him with unease, but he had also seen the recordings. He had watched blind dogs lead humans through busy streets. He had seen children with shaking hands reach out to touch soft fur. Something about those moments stayed with him. Maybe this was worth one last try. The meeting space had been carefully designed. A strong glass barrier separated the two sides, but both could see and hear each other clearly. Leah stepped in with Finn, who immediately sniffed the room and gave a short wag. Treek entered slowly, keeping his gaze low, as if afraid to make eye contact with the creature on the other side. Finn sat beside Leah and simply waited. Leah took a deep breath and spoke gently. "This is Finn. He's not a soldier or a hunter. He's a friend. He doesn't attack. He comforts." She pulled out the blanket and set it on the floor. Finn immediately lay down on it, resting his chin on his paws. His tail thumped once, then went still. Treek watched closely. The creature showed no signs of aggression. No baring of teeth, no low growls. Instead, Finn looked peaceful. Treek's heartbeat slowed a little. "He's not reacting to me at all," he said through the translator. "He knows I'm here, but he's not afraid or angry." Leah smiled. "He senses how you feel. He's waiting to see if you need him." At that moment, a child entered the room on Leah's side. It was 8-year-old Maya, who had once been rescued by Finn after a building collapsed in her neighborhood. She walked quietly to Finn, sat beside him, and began to pet his head. Finn closed his eyes and let out a soft sigh. No command had been given. No training was shown. Just a quiet moment of comfort between a child and her dog. On the alien side, Treek's hands slowly relaxed. His mind was full of memories of teeth and blood and running. But now he saw none of that. He saw a girl who trusted the creature completely. And the creature asked for nothing but to stay close. Then, without warning, Finn stood and walked closer to the barrier. He didn't bark or press against the glass. He simply sat, tail gently sweeping the floor. Treek hesitated, then stepped forward. There was a small circular hatch that could be safely opened on both sides, just large enough for a hand or paw. Leah looked at the control team and gave a quiet nod. The hatch opened. Treek knelt slowly and extended one long-fingered hand through the opening. Finn tilted his head and stepped forward, then placed his paw gently into Treek's hand. The touch was soft and warm. Treek froze, overwhelmed by a feeling he hadn't expected. Relief. The paw in his hand wasn't heavy. It didn't threaten. It didn't squeeze. It simply rested there, like a whisper saying, "I'm here." The control room fell silent as humans and aliens watched the moment unfold. No alarms rang. No weapons were drawn. Just a hand and a paw meeting for the first time across two species, two histories, and one fragile hope. After the session ended, Treek returned to the Federation ship in deep thought. He met with the Council and quietly said, "They are not using these creatures. They are living with them. Not as masters, but as equals." The room fell quiet. A message was prepared. Back on Earth, President Langston received the alien transmission. It read, "We understand now. We were afraid of your dogs because we could not imagine trust that deep. You have not tamed beasts, you've befriended them. We would like to learn more." Weeks later, on a bright day in Central Park, humans and aliens gathered for a historic treaty signing. Children played with dogs on the grass while alien visitors watched with amazement. Treek stood beside Leah, and Finn sat calmly between them. Cameras from every corner of Earth and every part of the Federation broadcast the moment. A young alien asked Treek, "What changed your mind?" Treek looked at Finn and said simply, "He didn't speak my language, but I felt it when he placed his paw in my hand. That paw didn't belong to a predator. It belonged to a friend." And just like that, with one quiet gesture, the stars no longer seemed so far apart.